These boxes allow mothers to anonymously dump their children in a box within 45 days of birth. In 2023, Alabama expanded a safe haven law to include baby boxes, yeah, Dave, I know, installed on exterior walls of hospitals and local fire stations that are equipped with emergency personnel on their 24/7 sites. So this is the process before I'm going to have Alicia, who's also on the ones and twos, and Jake show the video. The process, so once the baby is placed inside the box, an alarm inside alerts the medics on site or the firemen. The medics do an initial examination before transferring the infant to a local hospital for further treatment, and the baby is then handed over to Child Protective Services. I just want to show these two quick videos so you guys have an idea. Mind you, I had no idea this existed. Did you know?
I always thought you could leave a baby at a fire department, but I mean, while they're at it, why don't they have like those olden days sucking tube things where you put a little messenger note and it goes to like the second floor?
Like
for
a
the baby.
Like at a bank ATM. Yeah, well, by the way, they're doing it there at some. Yeah, just do it at the ATM machine. Just put the kid in there and just have him, go there. But this is the video that I saw. I couldn't believe it. And by the way, just mid-video, there's going to be the guy that made the video. His head pops up at the bottom, so don't be scared. But Alicia, can you please play this video?
The orange bag is going to fall out. That has resources for the parents in it. That has a registry, medical information.
Can you put the volume up so we can hear it?
Counseling, trafficking information is in there. They're going to place their infant inside.
I don't mean
They're
to
gonna
be
take
crass.
that orange
That
bag
looks
with
like an
them.
oven.
It looks like an oven.
Shut the door and they're going to walk away.
And that's it, yeah.
Box the
Look at that
door.
dude's face. He can't believe it.
So the door
He can't believe it.
He's not there.
No, he's
No,
not. there.
this is the TikTok. It's a TikTok overlay.
Lisa, can you guys go to the second video? Now, this is the flip side, Tom. This is from the inside of what it would look like if you were in. I mean, nobody's sitting there monitoring the thing, but I'm pretty sure they're on camera. But can you show this is what it looks like from the inside of the fire station?
Do we see that same guy's face pop
Yeah,
up?
no.
Parent walks up to the outside of a baby box, opens the door, places the newborn inside the medical bassinet,
The medical
takes the
bassinet.
orange bag,
If you've ever had a baby, that's
Shuts the
exactly what it
door
looks like in the delivery
and
area.
walks away.
That's it.
That is the
Child is
bassinet
picked
that
up
sits right
from this
next to the
baby
mom.
box within 2 minutes.
So, okay. So now the alarm goes off. Yeah, David, take a deep breath because I'm going to go to you too. So as of 2024, 10 states in the United States have implemented these safe haven boxes. Indiana, Ohio, Arkansas, Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, Arizona, Missouri, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania. Okay, so I just think, the fact that we need a baby box tells you exactly where we are as a society. I think personally, and then I'm going to go to you, David, then I'm going to go to Tom, this incentivizes bad behavior. And I understand there are situations in life that come about where you can't handle it. But to have something like that available, Dave, I saw you flipping out.
Well, I mean, look, call me a neurotic. I used to be a lawyer. For those of you who don't know, in commercial litigation, you anticipate everything that can go wrong. If the alarm doesn't go wrong, you're going to have a baby literally dying, suffocating, sitting in one of those sweltering heat boxes forever. I mean, it will happen. You're relying on technology to notify you that someone just left a living being in a box, a hole in a wall. It's psychotic. Set aside the fact that it's just, you can't go to the fire department, you can't go to the hospital, you can't go through a normal process of abandonment and adoption. You discard it like trash in a hole in a wall. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about those boxes is they are a solution to a problem that was happening. Because I'm actually in favor of them, although I of course am not in favor of parents abandoning their children. The boxes are temperature regulated. They are insulated. They're meant to be a safe place to leave them. That's why they're called safe haven boxes, because the alternative is, okay, just put the baby in a basket and leave it on the front step of the fire department and hope somebody finds it. This was a problem they kept running into, and it's been a problem for a very long time, of they just leave the baby there, then they find it hours later, and the baby's just been exposed. If they put it in this thing where it's insulated, it's temperature regulated, and they're not airtight, so it's not suffocating. There's airflow. It's basically designed to make sure the baby's okay in they said 2 minutes.
And they're also in fire departments.
Yeah.
And I would think
Yeah,
that
fire
those fire
departments
departments
and
are
hospitals.
staffed.
Yeah, guys, and I understand that, and like let's not sugar. It's not just about the safety thing. To me, it's just about a culture that we have that's what we want to be doing. Besides, and I know what people are going to say. Well, at least they didn't have the abortion, okay? And I know that's what people say is, well, at least she didn't kill the baby. But you know what people aren't realizing? That kid's future, that kid's life, that kid you have to tell them, how did I get to where I am? Oh, your mother and your father, or whoever, they just put you in a box, in a hole in the wall, and just walked away. And by the way, there's a 45-day limit, Tom, for the age. Who's to say you think that person cares so much that
Who's
they're
going to say it that way? Who do you, honestly? Let's play it out,
Yeah.
Vinny. I think you're wrong on like 9 levels on this one.
Okay.
Who is going to tell the child that?
Well, hopefully the
Who's
person.
going to tell the child that?
I think the child would actually have embedded trauma from the event itself. They may never know, but they'll have
All right.
embedded trauma.
So we got to talk
We
because I
can let
want to.
psychologists talk about that. Well, I mean, but up to
how
is
old?
that what you're going to
45
say?
days?
Is that what you're going to say? No. What they're going to say is, hey, your mom and I, your stepdad, your stepfather, whatever you want to call us, your mom and dad, says we're not your biological parents, but your parents. We adopted you. Your mom couldn't afford you or whatever was trauma. And rather than suffocate you and rather than have an abortion, she chose to give you life. And then she handed you over to a hospital or as a fire station where they cared for you and Child Protective Services protected you. And then we adopted you. And it says a community of people that cared enough to you to have a facility so you could be dropped off and to have a system where we could be aware of you so we could adopt you and raise you on our own because we can't have kids. That's how you got here. That's a message you're going to get. Who's going to walk up to them and say, oh, you were dropped off in a hole or something? I mean, there's a lot of presupposition in that. Either we care about life or we don't. And right now, the culture, we teach ourselves that there's no accountability and no responsibility. You have a pregnancy you don't want, terminate it. Some people agree with that. Some people don't agree with that. Some people, by the way, believe there should be, partial birth abortion as the child is born. They, and I think you all know how this works.
Of course, it's
The child is murdered by placing a device at the base of the skull and vacuuming the brain matter.
Ugh.
As the child is outside the womb. That is a partial birth abortion. And that's 40 weeks. Now, I think abortion should I'm also volatile on the other side because I think abortion should be legal for 4,200 weeks. And that would be 73 years old, so it would include Chuck Schumer. So,
I was like, where the hell is he going with that?
but I'll say,
funny.
look, I think it's compassionate and it's a way to show we're life. And if you want to start talking about this, you want to go down the slippery slope because when you become a culture of decision-oriented death, regardless of whether you think there's a nobility with the decision or a woman has a right to choose over her body, and these are all very strong arguments from the perspective of the person presenting the argument, then you say to yourself, you're giving the state permission to have laws in place to govern life and death. So why don't we talk about the Netherlands that's completely broke and what happens if you are 75 years and 1 day old and you have no support system and no family around you and you're designated as stage 2 Alzheimer's in the Netherlands. You're euthanized.
They just off you.
They off you. It's because it's called the slippery slope of a society that values justification. Well, it's all for the best. And you got to be careful. You're a lawyer. You can play a lot of games. Well, it's all for the best, comma, and then put an awful lot of things in there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't disagree. You make a compelling argument, but I would say that I don't think this is actually in the longer term best interest of children at large. What this does, I think, is facilitates abandonment. As I said, the technical issues, I think it's fraught with problems. There will be a dead baby found in one of those things one day, and then they're going to have to revisit the entire thing. Protesting, it's only a matter of time before you have protesting outside those boxes, in which case nobody's going to use them as a practical matter regardless. It will be an issue about people putting babies in there that are well beyond 45 days, and I don't know how you put a two-day-old baby in a hole in the wall and expect someone to take it. I think you actually facilitate spontaneous or spur-of-the-moment abandonment and exacerbate a problem as opposed to not offering that as a viable option and make them think a little bit harder. I don't think the immediate reflex is abandon or kill the baby. I think it might make them think a little harder or just go through the normal standard channels of go to the hospital, I can't have this baby, adoption process at large, not dump it into a hole in the wall.
I see your argument, I see your angle. Let me ask you a question. When did the program and why did the program start that you could bring babies anonymously to fire departments?
I think that was just a supposition that firemen would not do something irresponsible with a baby. It's like that's the most churches, hospitals, fire departments.
Go look it up. You know why it was?
Why?
People were putting babies in dumpsters. People were literally abandoning babies in incredibly unsafe places.
Yeah.
And we say, if we're a compassionate society of life, then we need to do something. So finally it was, don't abandon your baby in a trash can or a dumpster. It was happening a lot, saying So fire department said, bring them here, no questions asked, and we'll get them to Child Protective Services and in the foster care.
Yeah, and mind you, and I take a step back though. I think again, and Tom, I a great point, great argument, and I like where you're coming from. But I think we talk about the culture that's driving this. That this being promiscuous is glamorized, and girls are out there. And by the way, we don't know the stories of all these girls. Some of them are probably bad, but like this society, we glamorize that. Like, go do what you want. Get out there. Being a hoochie mama is cool. And then you get in trouble. Instead of making it easier for them to walk and do this, why don't we go back and teach people to be responsible, to make the right decisions? You know what I mean? I think teaching people to be smarter so we don't even have to get to that point, which I agree, Tom. Thank God that there is an option that's better than a dumpster. But what were you going to say? Then I'll go to you, Dave.
You can't force people to be responsible, and they're not going to be. And so, unfortunately, we find ourselves in a society where there is a lack of respect for human life, and sometimes that comes on the parents' behest. I remember growing up, there was the story of Susan Smith. Tom, do you remember the story of Susan Smith, the mother in 1994 that strapped her 3 children into the backseat of the car,
put
2
in
children,
in a lake,
drove them into a lake, and then said that she was carjacked by a black man and he stole the car, and the entire country was focused on finding these children. And then it turns out that the reality was that this mother had killed her kids. Not the first mother to do it, but it became the first that it was a high profile, highly reported that I can remember. And so 1994, I'm 8 years old. For the rest of my adult life, I continue to hear stories. Even we had Sheriff Grady Judd on PBD podcast a few weeks ago. One of the stories we talked to him about was a woman in Orlando who duct taped her children's, it's going to make me cry, duct taped her child's arms behind his back and threw him into a pool and watched him drown. There are bad people out there.
Yeah.
Bad people are having children.
Yeah.
I'd much rather children be dropped off at a drop box where they can be left to, yes, it's in a firehouse. There's more than likely somebody on call at all times. Even if it's a volunteer, there's going to be somebody
There's paramedics at a fire station.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather that child end up in, like Tom said, I'd rather that child end up in a box than in a dumpster somewhere. And it's a great topic to bring up, Vinny, because this came out today.
Yep.
I found this morning. This is reported by Politico, but it's according to a new report from the Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy. According to Vivek Murthy, suffering from stress, money woes, and loneliness more than their childrenless peers, nearly half of parents can barely function today. Murthy says government aid in the form of child tax credits, universal preschool, early childhood education programs, paid family and medical leave, paid sick time, and investments in social infrastructure can help. But as of today, parents are more stressed out than they have ever been in human history. So parents are stressed out economically, financially, socially, politically, where a lot of parents are at the break. I'd much rather have a girl who's 19, 20, who has a 20-day-old child go, I'd rather leave it in this dumpster. If I truly care about life, I'd rather this child's life be saved by being put in this box and thrown away like a piece of trash.
Yeah, and again, I understand where you guys are coming from, and I keep going back to, like, when it comes to abortions and when it comes to dropping babies off, these are all things where it's like it's too late. You understand what I'm saying, Rob? Like, I hope, and you're right, I'm not gonna change everybody. There's how many billions of people on United?
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
According to this report, 4 in 10 parents said they're so stressed they can't function on most days. Imagine the impact. Like, I've never had to experience that. I grew up in a family where my dad was the provider. He was superintendent of schools. I was middle class. I was high middle class. Yeah. I wasn't rich. Yeah. I lived on a nice island. I lived comfortably. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't have to work. I never knew the struggle of looking at my parents and having to wonder if we're going to eat.
Yeah.
I never had to wonder if we're going to lose our house.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I know that if something were to happen that devastated me financially, as much as it would hate me to do, I could go to my parents and ask for help. I wouldn't, but I could. Imagine being those 4 out of 10 kids who are seeing their parents who are so stressed they can't function. What is that raising? What is the impact that that's having on those kids? So sometimes maybe it's better that people aren't parents, and unfortunately people realize that too late. I'm glad we live in a country where there are options other than killing the child to be able to preserve that life and save that life if people aren't cut out and fit to be a parent.
What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I think a lot of this is a problem of broken systems that we have, right? Because obviously the best solution is there are no babies aborted. There are no babies in boxes. Every parent who has a child is just responsible for their kid, and they live good lives the way they're supposed to, and they're not stressed, and they're able to afford things.
Yes.
So many systems are failing that are causing these things to be problems. So in order to make things improve, you do have to implement solutions. Now, obviously, it's not a good thing for a baby to go into a box and then go into the foster care system or up for adoption, because the United States foster care system is horrifically broken. The adoption process is ridiculous and slow and expensive, to where good parents who want kids will basically pay the cost of a house in order to get a child, and then maybe it's 50-50 whether they'll even get it. But while you're educating people about how to be responsible and trying to undo 60, 100 years of cultural indoctrination that tells them you can just get rid of your kid whenever you want, it's totally convenient, you need to have a solution in place that is the most pro-life thing you can come up with. And high-tech solutions like these baby drop boxes that will protect the life of a child and ensure they are directly in the hands of qualified medical professionals rather than just in a basket floating down the river or dumped in on the side of the road like trash.
Yeah.
That is the better solution, but it has to be accompanied by fixing the systems and fixing the culture as well.
I agree.
And that's the big question.
I agree, because think about it. Yeah, and by the way, just today, Umberto, and I'm going to move on to the next story. I'm going to move on to Tom. Umberto just sent me this, and I shared it with Tom before we get in. Today, the Fourth Amendment, Amendment number 4, will be effectively removed. All restrictions to abortion in my home state of Florida today, a state which currently has substantial protections for life. It'll be, so that's what happened.
So not the Fourth Amendment, Florida Amendment 4.
So, and my thing is just this, guys, and I always say this. It's always we always get to, the abortion, it's a woman's right, and dumping off babies. How about we talk about be a responsible person? You shouldn't be, if you're not meant to be having kids, stop being a hoochie. Stop being out there and sleeping with everybody. Like, guys, it's about the children. You nailed it, Connor. We're putting them in this box. You don't know the future of this kid. It's going to be in a broken system. And I have a question. Is there a limit, Rob? How many kids can you put in this thing? Well, no, like, is it every time this girl has a baby, just keep dumping them in the box?
Why limited at 45 days? What if you decide after 2 years you don't want your kid? They're going to have bigger boxes?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The bottom line is also, how big of a problem is it? And does the solution actually resolve the problem, or does it normalize something where you end up actually having more people doing this than would have done it had you not offered this as a normalized solution to abandoning a young infant?
I don't disagree, but if it saves one kid's life,
for that,
me, I'm like, well, then it's worth it.
Obviously.
But I think it's a bigger issue. It is. It's a cultural one.
Yes,
You look at the way that Christianity and Christian values. Look at how Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, was villainized in the media for what? Promoting Christian values. He wanted to raise a family in a safe environment, have a woman at home.
Complimenting his wife for being a great mom.
And that was criticized. But then you have songs, and I'm not going to use the term, but the Wet Ass P song was like the number one song in the world at one point. And at that same time, they were talking about banning the Christmas song. What was the Christmas song where they got upset because
Take Me Out from the Cold. It was...
The what? Oh, damn it.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah, baby, it's cold outside. They said that was misogynistic and because he was taking advantage of the woman. So that song is wrong, and we're not allowed to have that song out there. But at the same exact time, Wet Ass P was a number one. So it's like this whole I don't even want to use the term slut, but it is. This slut culture is promoted by social media and the algorithms, and now it's like infected our youth. So how do you fix that?
Yeah, and the Kardashians, by the way, she's one of the most influential female on the planet. And what is her claim to fame? What is Kim Kardashian? It's not her father.
Well,
it's her. It's her mother, selling a sex tape or negotiating or whatever allegedly the rumors are. That's your claim to fame.
And then trying to break Elizabeth Taylor's record.
What's up, everybody? Vincent O'Shaughnessy here. If you want to see me and the entire Valuetainment crew, we will be at the Vault Conference September 4th through the 7th at the Palm Beach Convention Center, hosted by none other than Patrick Bet-David and featuring Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Guys, this is the place to be. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to level up, do not miss this opportunity. This is the best place to network. If you want tickets, go to thevaultconference.com. Do not waste time. This thing is going to sell out, and I will see you guys there. Peace and love. So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.